to Covering the Fields with your host, Joe Ellison.
Hello, sports fans. Broadcasting from Meredith Hall Studios. Welcome to Covering the Field, the weekly program that analyzes all sports, handicaps them, and makes predictions. I'm your host, Joe Ellison, and today we're going to talk about the NBA, baseball, hockey, the USFL, NFL, racing, the Masters, and our You Got Hosed and Take or Fake segments. We'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Please give us your feedback, tell us your You Got Hosed stories, and visit our coveringthefield.com website daily to check out our many articles and our picks of the day and week. Find us on Twitter at coveringfield. Now, kicking things off this week, I'd like to introduce our football expert, Big Richard Martin. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So, Big Rich, professional football is back. Saturday marks the beginning of the United States Football League. But this isn't going to be your traditional brand of football. Let's take a look at the rules that are going to be used in the USFL. Now, they're going to start kickoffs will be from the 25-yard line. What do you think of that rule?
I think that's great. We're going to see some runbacks. If we'd have had that in the Super Bowl, I would have hit my first pick. They would have ran the ball out. But, of course, everybody now can boot it 75 yards and kick it in the end of the end zone. So, yeah, I like the rule. I think we should make it a little bit more exciting, run that ball out.
I totally agree with that one. There will be a 35-second clock between plays. What do you think of that?
Well, I like it because everybody wants more time at the end of the game. Maybe get some more excitement going. Instead of taking that full 40 seconds. So I like the 35 seconds.
Absolutely, speeding up the game is an excellent idea. This one's very interesting and is going to confuse some people at first. 2 forward passes are allowed per play if the first pass is caught behind the line of scrimmage. How about that one?
Well, that seems like we can dig into the playbook a little bit more. Might look like a little backyard football a little bit, but let's give it a try.
Yeah, let's give it a try. I totally agree with that one. If a pass doesn't cross the line of scrimmage, there are no pass interference or ineligible player downfield penalties, kind of like the way it is in college.
Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't go past the line of scrimmage, it shouldn't be considered a pass.
I'm totally in agreement. Pass interference penalties are going to be 15 yards, but if they're committed beyond 15 yards and ruled to be blatant, like tackling an eligible receiver, it's a spot foul. Any pass interference less than 15 yards down the field is also a spot foul. What about that?
Well, that's good. I think that's really good because if you're both making a play for the ball, you shouldn't be rewarded like in the NFL, a 40, 50-yard pass. If it's your left hand's on them and it's not egregious, then yeah, that's a great rule. Only take a 15. You shouldn't get the full 50 yards if you're both, unless it's like really egregious in the tackle, like you said. So I like that rule.
Okay, so do I. And after touchdowns, teams can opt for 1, 2, or even 3-point conversions. The 1 and 2-point conversions are the same as the NFL, but you can go for 3 from the 10-yard line. So if a team is down 9 points, that's 1 possession. Down 18, that's 2. Down 27, that's 3 possessions, etc. What do you think about the 3-point conversion?
Well, I mean, I kind of like the way it is right now in the NFL. I'm not really for that, but I mean, it does bring excitement to the end of the game. You still got a chance. So we'll see how it works. Give it a try. See, maybe some of these rules we can, use for the NFL and what we should be doing.
Yeah, it could keep the game closer, obviously. That's for sure. It's worth a shot.
Well, it keeps people from to watch it when it looks like a blowout. You still got a chance. So yeah, it keeps people tuned in. They're definitely all for it.
Right. And after conversions, teams can attempt an onside kick from the 25-yard line or run a 4th and 12 play from their own 33-yard line.
That's crazy. Well, that just totally gets any type of football that we see, right now in our United States football. But I mean, if you don't have I think the onside kick is one of the most dangerous plays anyway. I mean, you got guys are totally, left open on the onside kick when they bounce them high like that. So I think they're trying to go for it on, a 12-yard play is a lot safer for the safety of players.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that there will be 0 onside kicks this year. Clock stops after first downs in the last 2 minutes of each half. I'm not sure if that stops until the next play starts or if it's just momentarily, like in college where they reset the sticks. But I'm going to have to figure out while watching the games how that goes.
Well, the way I read it, Joe, is that the clock stops mean they're going to stop the clock and you can go ahead and start another play. But we'll have to see. We'll watch that first game against the New Jersey Generals and Alabama Birmingham to see what happens.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about stopping the clock in the last 2 minutes of each half?
Well, I think it would have definitely helped your Cowboys. So,
without a doubt.
You don't have to worry about handing it off to the ref.
Personally, I love the rule. It's probably my favorite one of all of these, just because we're going to get more excitement at the ends of games and more chances for teams to come back. So,
I'd have to agree.
And finally, we go on to overtime. If the game goes to overtime, teams will alternate attempting up to 3 two-point conversions. Whoever is ahead after those 3 wins the game. Of course, it could be only 2 if someone's up 4-0 and someone's already tried all 3. Yeah, we can have all kinds of different scenarios on that. But if it's tied after 3, it goes to sudden death. How about that for your overtime rule?
Well, that just seems like a lot going forward and then going back to sudden death. I mean, it goes back to a coin toss again. So, everybody in Buffalo is against that rule. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, it does bother me. I don't like this part, especially like, let's say you do all 3 of your two-point conversions and you're successful, but if the other team is also successful on 3, maybe both teams don't get an equal chance that 4th time around.
Exactly.
So
that's why the NFL made that change in the playoffs.
Yeah. So you definitely want the ball first on that 4th one. So you got to set it up for that just in case, if you can. So Big Rich, last week we covered the South Division. What can we look forward to from the teams in the North Division of the USFL?
Well, we're going to start with the Michigan Panthers. So I think they have probably one of the best advantages because they have Jeff Fisher, former NFL coach for the Rams and Titans, and I think that he'll have a big impact on that team and growth and development. So I think that's a good for the Michigan Panthers, and they have the only player that I actually saw in the NFL, Braxton Lynch, the former first-round pick of the Denver Broncos, which was a big bust. He is actually not the starter, though. The starter is Shea Peterson from the Michigan Wolverines. So they went with their hometown quarterback. In 2019, he had 5,661 yards passing, 45 touchdowns, and 7 rushing touchdowns. So he's definitely an athletic quarterback. And he was undrafted. He was in 2020, he was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, but he did not make the team. He played Canadian football. And he for last year, he played with the
Argonauts?
Argonauts, yeah.
Toronto.
Yeah. So he has a little bit of Canadian football experience, so he's going to get the chance.
Yeah, you like Jeff Fisher a lot more than I do. The last memory I have of Jeff Fisher was that first year where they moved from the St. Louis Rams moved to Los Angeles, and that was a complete disaster that year, and he was fired immediately after that season. I'm not sure if Jeff Fisher is actually going to be a good coach. We shall see. And who else?
Definitely has experience, so we'll see what's going on. But I like Michigan in the North.
Okay.
We'll move on to Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Maulers. We have they have Kirby Wilson, who is the Pittsburgh running back coach, and he's going to take over the job there. So they're trying to keep Pittsburgh with the Pittsburgh Steelers tradition. Kyle Lavaletta, 27-year-old, he played quarterback at Richmond. In 2017, he had 28 touchdowns, 3,737 passing yards, and he has 12 career rushing touchdowns. So he likes to get out and going. He was actually a fourth-round pick by the New York Giants, and of course he went on to be just a practice quarterback, especially during the COVID protocols.
Oh, yes. That's a head coach there that has never been a head coach anywhere. He was 23 years as a running backs coach. So it'll be a different experience for him being head coach.
Well, sitting under Mike Tomlin's probably the best mentor he could have. And, I'm pretty sure that they'll bring that same mentality to the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Okay. And who else is in that division?
We have the New Jersey Generals. Mike Riley is the coach there. He actually played under Bear Bryant. He was the head coach for Oregon State and Nebraska. Didn't have much success there. He also was the head coach for the San Diego Chargers. Their quarterback will be Ben Holmes, and he was at Tarleton State in Texas. He was their quarterback, and he had 28 touchdowns with 2,659 yards, and he had 501 yards rushing, so he does like to get after it too with 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yep, Mike Riley, as you mentioned, not a lot of success as a head coach. Known as one of the nicest guys in all of football. Well liked, but I don't know. I'm a little worried about New Jersey. And one final team, Philadelphia.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Stars. And they have Bart Adreras, which is kind of he has no experience at all in the United States, but he is the Amsterdam was over there at the European League. He was their head coach there after the Kurt Warner years. Of course, he was there in the late 90s, Kurt Warner. But he took over the Amsterdam Argonauts, and this is their quarterback. I think it's like one of the guys we got to look at. Brian Scott. I kind of like this guy. He was at Occidental College, wherever that is. But he is also in the spring league, like we talked about. They had the spring league last year, and Brian Scott was actually the MVP of the league. And he was in charge. He was with the Generals then, and he had a 4-0 record.
Yeah, that could be a sneaky good team. This coach, yes, he's coached all over the world, pretty much. And yes, the quarterback, that could be a team to watch for sure. So, Rich, going into week 1, do you have any betting angles for this week's games? There are spreads out on each game.
Well, give me the spreads, Joe.
Okay, let me grab them for you. Okay. Saturday, Birmingham is favored by 3 against New Jersey. The over-under is 42.5.
Well, I'm going to go with Skip Holtz and the former Notre Dame coach, and I'm going to take the Birmingham Stallions, who has the only actual home field advantage.
Yes. Well, his father was the coach at Notre Dame, Lou Holtz, but he
was offensive coordinator.
Yes, that's true. Sunday, we've got Michigan favored by 3 against Houston with a total 42. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I was thinking about Michigan, but it seems like you're talking so bad about Jeff Fisher. I'm going to go with my pick on the South. I'm going to go with the Houston Gamblers because this is going to be a gamble because we have no idea about these teams.
Right. New Orleans Breakers favored by 2.5 against Philadelphia. Total is 43.
Well, I'm going to go with Philadelphia Stars. I like this kid, Brian Scott. Like I said, he was last year's MVP. I watched a little bit of their film, and it seems like he's pretty good looking quarterback. So I'm going to go with the Stars.
And finally, the third game that is Sunday, Tampa Bay -4 against Pittsburgh. Total is 42.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and go with Todd Haley at the Tampa Bay. They are the favorite to win it. He has a lot of coaching experience, and we're going to go. He has Taimua from Ole Miss as their quarterback, and I kind of like that team. So we'll go to Tampa Bay in that game.
Yeah, normally I try the offensive-minded coaches in week 1, but other than Jeff Fisher, it seems all the head coaches are offensive guys, so I can't really go with that. Also, logically, you'd think take the points, right? Because no one has any idea what the hell is going to happen in these games.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch, and we'll have a lot more to report on next week.
But I'm leaning towards the teams that I feel have the better head coaches. And looking at the resumes in week 1, I'm with you. I like Birmingham -3 and Tampa Bay -4. That's Skip Holtz and Todd Haley. I think those are the 2 best coaches from what I saw. just going by resume wise. Obviously, there's no home field advantages because all the games are being played in Birmingham, Alabama. The league was designed at the height of COVID. So they tried to get kind of a bubble going over there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't know if they're all going to be practicing. This would be good to be tuned in. We'll have some more information. Where they're practicing, I mean, are they practicing in Pittsburgh, or are they practicing Mullers, or are they practicing in Alabama? So we'll figure out what's going on when we watch this first week, how the league develops.
Rich, I know this is another crazy question. Do you have any thoughts on overs and unders?
Well, I mean, I think that probably the overs I like the overs better if I was going to bet them, due to the fact that I think that like you said, they're offensive-minded quarterbacks, but also because I think these teams are going to sling it with all these overtime rules and going for 3, 2 and 3. I think that's going to bring the scores up.
I totally agree. I'm leaning towards the overs because more rules appear to be trying to create a game that scores higher than the NFL. Kickoffs from the 25, the 35-second clock, the 2 forward passes on one play rule, less ineligible players downfield, and the clock stopping more under 2 minutes of each half. It's pretty clear the USFL is trying to make the game more exciting.
Exactly.
So finally,
that's the only way they're going to get people to tune in the spring for football and put a product out there that's exciting and fun to watch. I think all the sports are doing that, definitely in the NBA and with, Gators picks over here with the hockey. You can tell that how they've opened that up even with overtime with 3-on-3.
Right. Finally, Rich, another crazy question. Do you have a prediction as to who will win the USFL championship?
Well, if I was going to gamble, I'm going to bet on the Gamblers. I'm going to take Houston Gamblers over Michigan Panthers. That's my prediction.
7-1 on the Gamblers. That's a pretty good one. The odds go anywhere from 4-1 to 9-1. So 7-1 is going to be one of your better bets if it actually hits.
Right, exactly.
But I'll try Tampa Bay. I know they're one of the 2 favorites at 4-1, but that's Todd Haley. I've got a feeling he's going to be the guy to lead them to the championship.
Okay, I don't like that pick.
So, Big Rich, we should also get to some NFL news, but most of it is not good. This weekend, we learned of the death of Dwayne Haskins. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, he was killed in Saturday morning by a dump truck on the interstate. Totally bizarre accident. He was down in Miami. He was practicing with Trubisky down there, the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh right now. They were doing some training skills. So what was he doing at 6 o'clock on the interstate? I don't know. And it's just bizarre that you get hit by a dump truck, So just totally sad.
It is incredibly sad. 24 years old, incredible college player, one of the best, maybe the best in Ohio State history as far as quarterbacks. I think he did set some Big Ten records. Obviously, if you look at his NFL career, not what people had expected to happen. He was at Washington. Now he was trying to be at least the first backup at Pittsburgh, and now, obviously, yes, quite the tragedy.
Exactly. He was a first-round pick from Washington. And then, like you said, he fell through there after a couple of years in Washington and went on to Pittsburgh where he was under Mike Tomlin. And Tomlin took it pretty hard, too. Said it was just totally tragedy to the Pittsburgh Steelers family.
Yes. Well, he seemed like a great kid as far as, personality-wise. So it is a loss for sure.
Well, what's one of the first rules your mom tells you? Don't play in the street. I mean.
Yeah, or the highway even.
Or the highway, exactly.
That's really bad. What about the Washington? What about what the Washington Redskins have been doing over the last few years? Obviously, they're now the Commanders, but what were the Redskins doing?
I think they're going backwards with the quarterback situation for sure. Carson Wentz from the flunky out of Indianapolis. I don't know what they're doing out there. It just seems like they're just a mediocre team. They're stuck in mediocre.
Yes. Well, I think it starts at the top, and you have this owner, Dan Snyder, that's basically worried about the bottom line, and that's making money. I don't know how much he's really dedicated to winning games. there's this rule that teams must share 40% of their net home ticket sales with the other teams. Now Congress is investigating the Commanders and Dan Snyder for cooking the books. Apparently, he's not giving his fair share back to the league.
Well, yeah, he's always been extremely unpopular for sure as an owner. I remember back doing the Deion Sanders deal when he went and got Deion Sanders and stuff. So, yeah, I just didn't think I don't think that they're going in the right direction at all. They need to get some change in Washington for sure. Not only in our own Congress, but with the Washington Commanders, and we need to get it starts at the top. So hopefully, get some new ownership and get some new ideas, and somebody who wants to win.
Maybe the other owners can get together and finally get rid of Dan Snyder. He's been involved in numerous controversies and lawsuits, and it's not really good for the league. So the NFL draft, our last subject, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, now it seems to be that Vegas is going with Aiden Hutchinson as the number one pick. He's actually minus 240 to go number one, but I think this year there's no clear cut like number one for sure. Travon Walker, the defensive lineman from Georgia, he's at plus 3.5. So that's kind of a good pick there. I think he's a great defensive lineman. They're talking about he can play inside and outside. A little bit small at 275, I believe, so he's going to have to put some size on. He's going to play defensive line. But I still like Evan Neal at 6-1 odds. I think that they definitely got to protect Trevor Lawrence, and I think that they'll invest that pick with another tackle who can also play guard.
Yeah, well, they re-signed that one tackle. I think it's Greg Robinson. So maybe they shored that up. Aiden Hutchinson looks like the best player. I can understand it being minus 240. I would actually think it will be Hutchinson. Just wouldn't want to lay the minus 240 on it, though.
Right. Don't lay the 240 because everything could change within the next 2 weeks.
Yes. The draft is full of surprises. There could be a trade. Jacksonville might trade down and get more picks. And it could be somebody else moving up there trying to grab somebody else. It's possible.
Well, I'd like to think that Aiden Hutchinson will stay in Michigan and go to the Detroit Lions. I think that'd be a perfect fit. So I'm kind of hoping he goes down to number 2.
Well, that would be good for the fans in that area for sure.
All right, take or fake, Joe.
Take or fake.
The Oakland A's lead beer sales in Major League Baseball.
I'm being an A's fan, I'm going to have a hard time believing that. I'm going to go fake. The last time I went to an A's game, they were serving Old Milwaukee, and I've drank Old Mud, and it's not that good. I hope they've improved their choices of beer, but if they still are drinking Old Mud, I'm going to go fake on that.
Well, I'm not sure what they're serving, but it is a take. They sell over $50 per person in beer sales, leading the major leagues by over $10 for the next person. So that's a take. Oakland A's have terrible baseball. They probably have terrible beer, but they definitely sell a lot of beer just by the way they're watching their team play, obviously. And they only have $10 tickets to get in.
It must be cheap beer, too.
Take or fake.
Well, thank you, Big Richard, for being on the show.
Well, thank you, and we're off to basketball season. I'm looking forward to seeing what Marc the Shark has to say about these picks. And for basketball, playoffs are starting. We got hockey starting in a couple weeks after that. And, of course, baseball season's kicking off with Ronnie. Good stuff. It's a good time to be on the show.
Up to the plate now is our baseball correspondent, Rockin, Ronnie McKinnon. How's it going today, Ronnie?
Great, Joe. How are you? I like that up to the plate thing.
You used to come up to the plate quite a bit back in your heyday.
I surely did.
So what's the news from the first week of the Major League Baseball season?
Well, Joe, we've about a week in and almost. We have go over some of the some news. The Twins actually acquired Chris Paddock. He was a San Diego Padre pitcher, and they got him for Emilio Pagan. The Padres did, I should say, and Emilio Pagan, the Padres, for Taylor Rogers and Brent Rooker. So that was one of the transactions that went on. Also, Ohtani, he actually became the first player ever in AL or NL history to pitch the first pitch of a game and lead off and get the first pitch as a batter. So there's another little record for Ohtani.
Yeah, he's making records like every year, every month or so.
Right,
Like, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that was his first career opening day start. So also we had Key Bryant Hayes, actually a third baseman for Pittsburgh. He got an 8-year, $70 million deal. He actually left the game the other day in the first inning of opening day. So that was actually last week in St. Louis with a hand-wrist injury. They don't expect him to miss too much time. Then we had Aaron Judge, the New York Yankee outfielder, actually turned down a 7-year, $213.5 million extension offer. Pretty crazy.
Unvaccinated Judge, by the way. He's not even vaccinated, was the whole problem. Can he even play in Toronto?
Well,
it comes down to it.
He has been playing, and of course, he said something about, oh, we'll wait till the year's over. But no, they're going to be talking about this extension during that time. And the COVID thing, I'm not sure what's going to happen with playing there in Toronto. So
okay, what else is going on?
We also have the Lucas Giolito, right? The Chicago White Sox pitcher actually left opening day game, the opening day game for the White Sox after about 4 innings. He allowed 1 hit and he struck out 6, but he left with abdominal tightness. That 10-day IL injured list reverts back to the 9th of April, so he should come back. Also, another starting pitcher, Lance Lynn for the White Sox, is also on the injured list. Then we have Rachel Balkovec we're going to talk about again. You know, we've talked about her before, the Tampa Bay Tarpons manager. That's in single A ball for the New York Yankees. She actually won her first game as a manager. So congrats to Rachel.
I can only say so many nice things about Rachel.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, we know that, Joe. We know you can.
Yes, and, I wish her the best of luck.
Oh, totally, yeah, no doubt. Then another thing that's pretty interesting, obviously, is, Albert Pujols went back to the Cardinals, and the St. Louis Cardinal 3, Adam Wainwright is 40 years old. Albert Pujols is 42, of course, and Yadier Molina will be 40 in July, and they're all still playing, and they're playing together again now because Pujols, had been with the Cardinals for, 10 years. Actually, it's interesting too because the new manager, Oliver Marmol, is actually only 35 years old. So, that's it's pretty interesting. Molina and Wainwright have been together for a long time as pitcher and catcher, and so it's and I wanted to keep Pujols myself as a Dodger fan, but it's good that he went back to St. Louis and probably end his career there. So a great ball player.
Yes, it's a good move for the Cardinals, no doubt.
Oh, totally, yeah. Also, I talked last week about Hunter Green, the 22-year-old starting pitcher, right-handed pitcher for Cincinnati. He did pitch. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 4 hits and 3 runs, and walked a couple. He struck out 7, but he gave up two home runs. So that was his debut with the Cincinnati Reds. Also, we have A.J. Pollock, who was in the trade with Chicago for Kimbrel and the Dodgers. He's on the 10-day injured list with a strained right hamstring. That's retroactive back to the 10th. Then we also have really interesting with Taylor and Tyler Rogers. They are twins, and they are both pitchers, one left-handed, one right-handed. Taylor was traded to the Padres from the Twins, and happened to be playing the Giants. So they faced each other in that game. Tyler ended up getting the save, and it's pretty cool that when I was checking things out of twins in the game, that's actually the fifth set of twins to appear in the same game. It was the first since Jose and Ozzie Canseco back in 1990. It's also the 10th pair of twins to each make it to the majors. There's been more than 400 combinations of siblings who played in Major League Baseball. There's three brothers actually in Major League Baseball. I used to watch Felipe, Matty, and Jesus Alou. There was also Joe, Dom, and Vince DiMaggio, and then Ken, Cleet, and Cloyd Boyer. So quite a, I didn't realize, wow, 400 combinations of siblings who have played in MLB altogether. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, being an A's fan, I remember when all the Alou brothers were in the same outfield in the same game.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Felipe had a great career. Matty, pretty good. Jesus, not as big as his two brothers, but I remember, watching all those guys play. And also, actually, Ken Boyer, of the three Boyer brothers that played.
I believe Bob and Ken Forsh both threw no-hitters too, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's pretty cool stuff. Another we have to bring up another young woman. She's a 31-year-old she's actually been coaching with the San Francisco Giants. She was hired as an assistant coach in January of 2020. Her name is Alyssa Nakken. Nakken, Nakken, I believe.
Nakken, sounds like, yeah.
And so she's the first woman to actually coach on the field in a Major League Baseball game. The first base coach for Miami got ejected, and they sent Alyssa out there, and so that's pretty cool. There's a lot of different women now in the Major League Baseball, and she actually was the first one to actually go out on the field in the first base box and coach first base for the Giants.
So that's a great story.
That is pretty cool, yeah. And then we also have a Miami 24-year-old left-hand starting pitcher, Jesus Luzardo. He actually into the major leagues, and he actually had 12 strikeouts in 5 innings against the Angels, giving up a run, 2 hits, and a walk in that game. And then, of course, we need to bring up Albert Pujols again, or I do actually, the St. Louis DH now. He hit his first Cardinal home run since 2011 when he used to play for the Cardinals. That's number 680. And so far he's also, interesting. He called it before the game. He told the manager and told the players before the game that he was going to hit a home run his first time up, and he did. And he's actually he's right now he's 3 for 4 with a couple runs and an RBI, batting .333. And I always root for Albert, and so that was pretty cool. He called his 680th home run. And one more thing, today, just not too long ago, Clayton Kershaw, the Dodger pitcher, pitched his first game of the year, and he pitched 7 innings of a perfect game. Well, that's no hits, no walks, no errors, nobody on base at all. He had 13 strikeouts of the 21 outs that he got. No walks, 80 pitches. Dave Roberts took him out. That happens a lot in the beginning of the year. They take pitchers out because it's early in the season and they don't want to work them too much. But I don't know. I get it. I probably would have, let him go to one more batter than the 8th and see, how things went. But they ended up the relief pitcher that came in actually gave up a hit right away, and they did win 7-0 in a one-hitter over Minnesota just earlier this afternoon.
Yeah,
So,
I also would have let him pitch a little while longer, at least until the first hit. I mean, this was a perfect game going, for heaven's sakes. And
exactly. And 80 pitches is not a lot of pitches for 7 innings.
no,
Of course, I think people know I've had a little problem with Dave Roberts for the last few years. It's hard to really totally blame him. I know you don't want to get one of your best pitchers, hurt early, but it reminds me back to the days of being a baseball purist that, when guys starting pitchers pitch 9 innings, sometimes they pitch an extra inning, 10 innings, 100 and some pitches or 130, they never seem to get hurt then. And so that's a problem with me, but, especially with not just a no hitter, but a perfect game. So, but anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't see anything wrong with letting him go till that first hit and maybe resting him an extra day or two afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, 80 pitches is not a lot, especially for 7 innings. So we'll see what that they should have. That's what I would have done at the time. But I'm trying not to beat up too much on Dave Roberts on this one. I kind of get it. I've seen it already in the first week of baseball. Guys that have had a shutout in 7, and they've taken him out because they've thrown a lot of pitches, and they're trying to save them and not let them get hurt right away. And a little bit of a abbreviated spring training maybe had something to do with it also. So,
okay, well, that's pretty much the news. How's the PitchCom working? The communications device between the catcher and pitcher.
Well, more guys have decided to use it, and again, it's in Major League Baseball now. You don't have to use it. Whoever wants to can, and if they don't, they don't have to. So again, it's something the pitcher and catcher wears, and then the middle infielders, second base and shortstop, and then the center fielder. But they did have a little issue the other day with the catcher's PitchCom device. Of course, there's some bugs in a new thing like that. I'm sure they'll work it out. The guys that have used it love it. I like it, because that can speed up the game with the catcher. All the visits out to the pitcher and talking and back and forth, that can speed up the game. I know they've talked about stopping the guy on second base on the team that's batting that he can't steal signs. I have a little thing with that. I don't think it's cheating. If a guy's smart enough to steal their signs, being on second base, then so be it. But anyway, it can speed up the game, and that's fine. That's one of those things that I'm okay with. Some of the stuff they talk about, I'm not crazy about that they're discussing. The shift, we've talked about that before. They're talking about getting rid of that, which is ridiculous to me. Again, guys need to learn to hit the other way. I mean, come on, man. You're professional baseball players. So, but anyway.
I found it interesting that PitchCom device invented by 2 magicians. Any thoughts?
That's right. I had heard something about, but you brought that up before the show, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't have any details on that, but it's I think it was something that some kind of device that they used for something else, and they decided to do this. I think it's great, and
they can only divulge so much of what they do, magicians, but
right, I've seen a picture of it. I showed you a picture of it before a couple shows ago or whatever, and it's pretty cool, and they'll work out the bugs, and it'll I think it'll be more and more teams and more guys will decide to use it. Joe, one more thing that I totally before we go on to some games and some picks that that I wanted to mention. There's a Cleveland Guardian outfielder named Steve Kwan. And in the first 5 games, he was 10 for 15, batting .667, 7 runs, 4 RBIs. But the big thing is that he reached base 18 times. 18 out of 24 times he reached base. That's the most since 1901, and that was in his first 4 games. Now, 5 games, 7 singles, 2 doubles, a triple, 7 walks. Just pretty amazing. Then today, actually earlier today, he played and he did miss a pitch, and that's something that I wanted to bring up. He had 115 swings without missing a pitch, without swinging and missing. That's pretty amazing. The last guy was 100 in 2000, David Fletcher, I believe. I remember him. I think he was a shortstop for the Angels back then. But he hadn't struck out since September 26th, 2021 in the Cactus League. And today, in today's game, he did, he actually tipped it, but he missed it, struck out today, and a swing and a miss on a foul tip. So, but unbelievable what he's done so far in the major leagues. And he's a 24-year-old, but that's 115 swings without missing a pitch. That's just swinging and missing. It's pretty crazy.
Right. As we go on to the betting part of the show here, William Hill is not listing starting pitchers on the betting tickets right now. I can't really figure out the reason why they've been doing it for so many years.
Right. Well, yeah, we were talking about that earlier before the show, and I mean, I noticed that too. It happens. It does happen at the beginning of the year. It also happens maybe part of the abbreviated spring training, but it also we've also already had some minor pitcher injuries. So it's not totally shocking or unusual. I mean, I've seen it before, but yeah, you're right. Some of these games today, some of the games set up for tomorrow, they are not listing some of the games. Neither team is listing a starting pitcher, and some of them, one of the teams is not. So it makes it a little tougher to bet when you don't know who's pitching, right?
Without a doubt. Some guys will only bet teams knowing who the starting pitcher is going to be.
Correct. Yeah. And there was some today that I kind of backed off going, well, I don't know who's pitching. You can look at, the teams and what they look like so far, or where they're playing, home or away, but the pitching is the big thing. And I am going to make some picks, just straight up picks here.
Well, let's hear them. What are your picks for this upcoming week?
I will be doing, these are for tomorrow. I will be doing more, and then I'll put those on the site before, next week's show. But I'm, Oakland will be at Tampa Bay. I'm taking Tampa Bay. Come on, Joe. Oakland's won a couple games. I know they got rid of everybody, and I know you're an A's fan, but
I'm not. I think it's a 4-game series. I'm thinking they're going to get only one of those 4 games.
Right. Yeah, I think Tampa Bay will win the first one. Then we have Seattle at the Chicago White Sox. That's going to be a really interesting game, and I'm actually taking Seattle on the road in that game. Then I am going to take Pittsburgh at home over Washington. Miami at home over Philadelphia. That should be an interesting game. KC over Detroit, and KC is at home also. And then the Dodgers will be at home playing Cincinnati, and I will take the Dodgers. And then also the Angels will be at Texas, and I'm taking the Angels on that one.
Well, that's all your picks then this week.
That's for tomorrow. And again,
just for tomorrow, and we have to look on the website to find more picks.
Exactly. And,
gotcha.
So that's
Okay.
kind of where we're at. We're not going to, don't need to go through standings and all that after
No.
5-6 games or anything or what's going on there. But we'll look forward to doing it again next week.
Right. Good luck with those picks. So, Rock and Ronnie, do we also have a little bit of horse racing news? I know how much you love your horse racing, and we have Kentucky Derby coming up. What have you got for us?
Well, that's what I was going to talk about is just briefly is the 2022 Kentucky Derby on Saturday, May 7th. So that's like 3 weeks from this Saturday. I will be making picks for that and all 3 of the Triple Crown races, the Preakness and the Belmont after the Kentucky Derby. So I was going to try to make some other picks for something before the Kentucky Derby, and I'm going to try to do that also. But anyway, I will be making some picks and bets myself on the Kentucky Derby again, Saturday, May 7th.
Well, you nailed your races last time we did a horse racing segment, so I'm looking forward to your picks.
Right on. All right. Thanks, Joe.
Next up, Gator Gates. How are things going today, Gator?
Oh, I'm great, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Gator, what's the latest news in the National Hockey League?
Well, Joe, the Buffalo Sabres broke an NHL record last Wednesday with 11 straight seasons without a postseason appearance. If the Sabres are trying to beat the record in all 4 major sports. They're doing an excellent job. They just tied the New York Jets in football. They need 5 more years to catch the Sacramento Kings at 16 and 9 more years to tie the Seattle Mariners, who are currently at 20. Now, I would personally like to thank them for making my job easier. Hopefully, they can keep it going for the next 9 years, Joe.
And how are they making your job easier there, Gator?
Oh, I've been picking against them all year, Joe. All year.
Easy money.
Easy
Yes.
money.
And the Mariners, people didn't want to believe it when I mentioned it on the baseball preview that we did. Yes, the Seattle Mariners, 20 years without making the playoffs, the longest in North American professional team sports. We're expecting that to change this year, though.
Right. We're hoping, I think. I think
Yes.
we're hoping.
Gator, your picks were excellent again last week. You went 9-1, meaning you've gone 118-40 over the last 19 weeks. That's almost 75%. What are your predictions for the upcoming slate of games?
Okay, Joe. Well, I have 11 picks this week, and we're going to start on Thursday. I have 3 of them. I have Boston over Ottawa, Tampa Bay over Anaheim, Colorado over New Jersey. On Friday, I only have 1, and that's Florida is going to beat Winnipeg. Now, Winnipeg is playing a little bit better, but Florida is just playing excellent. And Saturday, I have 3. I have the Rangers taking out Detroit, Nashville over Chicago, and Calgary is going to beat Arizona. On Sunday, I have 2. I got Florida beating Detroit, Minnesota beating San Jose. And Tuesday, I got 2 as well. Toronto's going to take down Philly, and Tampa Bay should easily take down Detroit.
All right. Well, hopefully you keep your momentum going on those picks. Shifting over to NASCAR now, what happened last Saturday night in Martinsville?
Okay, well, Chase Elliott earned the pole position to break Ryan Blaney's streak of 3 consecutive poles. Now, Elliott led the first 185 laps, and that hadn't been done since Dale Waltrip did it in 1980. Now, William Byron took the lead after a pit stop in the stage 2, and he did lead 212 laps and had to fight off Joey Logano in overtime to be the first driver to win 2 races this year. Now, Chase did slip to 10th, but Chevy did earn 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th. Ford had their best top 10 finish with 2nd, 4th, 8th, and 9th. And Toyota had Kurt Busch in 6th and Kyle Busch right behind him in 7th place. Now, after 8 races, William Byron has 276 points. Ross Chastain is next with 246. And in 3rd with 237 points is Alex Bowman, Joe.
Yeah, that broke that streak of 7 different winners after the first 7 races, which was pretty amazing. And Byron with the 2nd win this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct, Joe.
Next week, we move on to Bristol. What are you predicting?
Well, like you said, we stay on the short tracks, and we're heading to Bristol for Easter Sunday. That will be on the dirt at Bristol, and another night race that will start at 4 o'clock on Fox. Now, I didn't see the odds, Joe, but I'm going to take Joey Logano no matter what his odds are. I don't see, if he doesn't win, he's going to be there somewhere.
Yeah, he did win last year. He's won every dirt race that they've had. Of course, there's only been one, and why not take Logano? I agree with that. Why not? I'm going to take him too.
Kind of hard not to.
Yeah. And the aforementioned Darrell Waltrip returns to the commentator booth this week too. So boogity, boogity, boogity.
Exactly. He's pretty entertaining. I'll give him that.
For sure. So Gator, what happened in Formula One racing?
Okay, well, Charles Leclerc got the checkered flag in Australia this weekend. Now, the Ferrari was on pole, and nobody even got close to Charles. He dominated the whole race. Now, the closest was Max Verstappen, but on lap 40, he had to retire due to his Red Bull having reliability issues. And out of the 3 races, Max has only finished once. Now, Lewis Hamilton, he was having problems with his Mercedes overheating. So his team told him to follow his teammate George Russell to keep the car cool. But Russell did finish on the podium 3rd, and Lewis ended up in 4th right behind him. But Red Bull did get 2nd with Sergio Perez. Now, this win, Leclerc is the leader in the standings with 71 points, and George Russell is 2nd with 37. And in the constructor standings, the Ferrari has a 39-point lead over Mercedes and a 49-point lead over Red Bull. Now, the next race is April 24th in Italy, not this week, next week, and it's the home track for Ferrari, and Leclerc is at a plus 105. But, Joe, this is reminding me of the Michael Schumacher era when nobody even came close to the Ferrari team.
Yeah, it's good to see. I was getting tired of watching Mercedes win all the time the last few years. They just totally used to dominate. And Leclerc looks like he's becoming a clear leader.
Oh, yes, he sure is. I agree. Hard to beat him.
Okay. Now, recapping my favorite golf tournament of the year, what occurred at the Masters last weekend?
Okay, Joe, well, the world's number 1, Scotty Scheffler, he won the green jacket and a check for $2.7 million for winning the 2022 Masters in Augusta, Georgia, Sunday night. But he has already won 3 out of the 5 PGA events this year, and he sure did look like the number 1 golfer. Scotty said that he felt at peace between the ropes and never allowed himself to enjoy the moment until 18 when his ball was about 40 feet from the hole, and he had a 5-stroke lead at that time. But the result of that whole thing was a double bogey, but there was no doubt at the outcome. He did finish 3 strokes ahead of Rory McIlroy. But Tiger Woods made the cut, Joe, but he had a horrible weekend. On both Saturday and Sunday, he shot 6 over par. Now, that was the first time he finished in double digits since he was 13 over par in 2013 U.S. Open. Now, on a side note, Joe, the Titleist 68 1Ts irons that Tiger used in the 4 majors that he won in a row back in 2000 and 2001 sold at an auction for $5.1 million. Now, that shattered the previous record for golf memorabilia that was held by Horton Smith's green jacket that sold for $682,000 in 2013.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of difference, $4.5 million.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and Scotty Scheffler, that was his first major, and the way he's playing right now, it's hard to see him not winning another one coming up soon, but of course things can change.
I don't see how you can bet against him for winning the whole PGA Cup.
Yeah, well, yeah. We'll see if the success gets to his head.
That's true too. Exactly. He's got so mental.
Right. So Gator, that leads us to a take or fake.
Take or fake.
What's more prestigious to you, winning a green jacket or a gold jacket for being voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Well, that's a pretty good question, Joe. The people that know me, I'm not too much on titles very much, but on this one, I'm going to have to take the gold jacket, Joe, just because it has the Hall of Fame word next to it. So I'm going to have to say fake, Joe.
Well, going to have to disagree with you. I'm going to take probably the minority view on this and do take. I'm kind of looking at the big picture. The Green Jacket is more global, more recognized throughout the world. Also, it's a more exclusive club. Only 54 men have won the Masters. 362 men have been elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And that's another thing. You're elected into the Hall of Fame, which can be subjective for some players, whereas you earn the Green Jacket on the golf course.
Yeah, I agree with that, Joe, exactly. But but to have that word Hall of Fame is just that word, like playoffs. When you hear the word playoffs, it perks your ears up.
Yeah, well, especially Americans, most Americans would definitely pick Hall of Fame. But if you look throughout the world, you'd probably think Green Jacket.
Sure, I see your view on that, Joe, sure. Either one will be fine for me, Joe.
Yes, for sure. Before we move on to the next subject, I want to congratulate Ted Scott on his Masters victory. And who is Ted Scott, you might ask? He is Scotty Scheffler's caddy. Yes, Scheffler had his wife with him to give him moral support. But caddying is much more than holding the golfer's bag and washing his balls. It's one of the most underrated jobs in sports. An unsung hero, if you will. Ted Scott just won his third Masters, as he previously won 2 with Bubba Watson.
Yeah, that's amazing, Joe. I didn't know that, but boy, that is a hard job, Joe. Get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You have to walk the course. You have to know where your boss is going to hit. If he hits it over here in the rough, what kind of club? I don't know. It's just a lot of work, and you're right, Joe. Even the credit that you're giving him is not enough.
Yes. So congratulations to him. Gator, how did college hockey's national championship end up?
Okay, well, we did have the Frozen Four this week. Number 1, Michigan was playing number 4, Denver, and that game actually went into overtime, and Denver won 3-2.
Yeah!
Now, the second one, we had Michigan State seeded second Minnesota State seeded second playing Minnesota. And that game was actually 2-1 after the second intermission, but the score ended up Minnesota State 5 and Minnesota 1. So that gets us to the championship game between Denver and Minnesota State. And Denver won this game 5-1.
Yeah!
Two of their goals were empty net goals. So the last time DU's won was back in 2017, and this is their 9th title which ties Michigan for the most. Now, Minnesota State goalie Drayden McKay, he won the Hobie Baker Award. Now, check this out, Joe. He had 37 wins with 34 being shutouts. And Drayden is the first goalie to win since Ryan Miller in 2001. So congratulations to the University of Denver being seeded 4th and finding a way to get the job done just like they have all year. It was very well deserved.
Yeah, pretty amazing. 34 shutouts in a college hockey season for a goaltender. That's just unbelievable. And I would have never guessed University of Denver winning 9 championships in hockey. I thought college hockey was mainly in the Northeast, not so much in the Rocky Mountains.
Right, exactly, Joe. Most people think that too. But I also want to say, Joe, as far as McKay here, he was not drafted by any NFL team. He is undrafted.
NHL, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So somebody better be on the phone.
Yeah. I don't know what he's got to do to get drafted.
Yeah, what do you got to do? Yeah, exactly. What do you got to do?
So, and finally, how can we go the rest of the show without talking about curling? How did the men's curling world championship finish, which of course was also bettable?
Yes, well, they were in Vegas, Joe, and anything that's going on in Vegas we can bet on. But we're just going to go, I'm just going to touch on the medal rounds. USA was playing Italy for the bronze medal, and Italy jumped out to a 4-0 lead right after the first end. Now, USA did come back after 3. They were losing 4-3, but Italy actually killed them in the 7th with getting 6 points. So I hate to say this, Joe, but Italy beat USA 13-4 in that game.
Ooh. And Italy did win at the Olympics. So it's certainly no surprise that they would beat us and win a bronze medal.
Sure, and they were undefeated there too, Joe. So that was amazing.
That was amazing.
And then, so for the gold game, we had Canada playing Sweden. Now, Canada did jump out to a 3-0 lead after the second end, but Sweden tied it in the fourth, being 3-3. And it was tied again in the ninth at 6-6, so that only left one more end to go. And Sweden had the hammer and did receive 2 points, so they did win the gold, beating Canada 6-8. So just to recap real quick, Joe, Sweden got gold, Canada got silver, Italy got bronze, and USA got fourth.
Yep, and Canada was favored to win it. Sweden was the second favorite, so that competition went pretty much true to form.
Right, Joe, and last week when we were talking, Canada was 6-0 and they finished the preliminary rounds by 10-2. So the last 2 games there.
Yeah, they kind of cooled off a little bit at the end. But anyway, great job, Gator, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Next up is our NBA analyst, Marc the Shark Sabella. How are you feeling today, Marc?
I'm doing great, Joe, and I'm really excited about the NBA playoffs here and the regular season being finally done.
Sounds good to me. Before we get to the playoffs, Marc, I just want to touch on a couple of new subjects. Los Angeles Lakers coach Frank Vogel got fired.
Yeah.
Vogel was betrayed by players such as Russell Westbrook, who was criminally overpaid, and accused Vogel of not giving him enough love after buying Vogel a bottle of champagne for his anniversary, which led Westbrook to feeling disrespected, and it ruined his whole season, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, he was also betrayed by management also, Joe. And I know I promised you I wasn't going to do any Laker talk tonight, but you can share the whole blame with a number of people in the organization for this.
I wouldn't put Frank Vogel anywhere near the top of that list.
No, Frank Vogel had nothing to do with the disaster which was the Lakers season this year.
He's just a scapegoat. And the other story, Philadelphia's Joel Embiid won the closely fought scoring title. I felt certain the Lakers' LeBron James would at least attempt to become the oldest to win the title, but James elected not to play in any of LA's last 4 games and didn't qualify. Still, he averaged over 30 points a game. Embiid, believe it or not, averages more points per minute among players who have played at least 300 games in the history of the NBA.
Wow, Joe, that's just such an amazing stat that you came up with there. And I know you didn't come up with it. You got it from the NBA history books. But that is just, if I would have lost my house on a bet on that one. That would have been, there's no way I would have thought Embiid was the highest scoring player all time per minute. I mean, that doesn't even sound right.
Yes.
What about like guys like Will Chamberlain or like Bill Russell or?
Well, Embiid is 0.83, which basically is he's scoring 5 points every 6 minutes. Will Chamberlain, although he did average 50 points a season one year and did score 100 in one game, it was only at 0.66. So it is a remarkable stat.
It is a completely astounding, amazing stat you just came up with.
Yes. So, Marc, we are going to get to predictions now. Your picks went a perfect 4-0 last week, and you've gone an amazing 11-1 over the last 3 weeks. What are your predictions for the playoff series, which start this weekend, and do you have any point spread picks?
Joe, can I say that maybe I just won't make any picks and we'll just kind of close the season down with an 11-1 run here and just go out on top?
You could say it, but I'm not going to allow you to do it.
Because already with the write-in games that you and I predicted last week, 2 games last night, 2 games tonight, I went 1-1 on that. So already my record is starting to falter a little bit there after the 11-1. So I picked the Brooklyn game right. I figured they were going to get on a roll now, and we're going to investigate their series coming up as the number 7 seed. They won it last night against Cleveland. And the Clippers, who I picked to actually go in and at least cover the spread, could do neither win nor cover the spread against Minnesota. Patrick Beverly and Russell were just way too much for the Clippers last night in Paul George.
Okay.
So
Playoff series starts Saturday.
they do. We have 3 very good series starting. I think it's 3. There's still
Yes.
2 more games to be determined, but I think it's 3 on Saturday. There's
Generally-
only 1 on Sunday so far.
Generally, the way they set it up, and they have for years and years, they'll play 4 games on Saturday and 4 games on Sunday.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yes.
So
It'll be a quadruple header
yes.
on numerous NBA channels.
Are we going to be watching that? Or,
I'll probably be watching USFL, but that's why we have you here, Mark.
Thanks, Joe. Well, I'll be right next to you watching USFL and keeping an eye on the NBA. playoffs.
We can watch both at the same time.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay.
So, Joe, I'm going to play a little different game with you. I am going to give you one good take or fake, our normal game, coming up for one of the series. But I'm going to play a different game with you right now. It's called the Ask the Joe Predict the Series lines, basically.
Oh, series odds.
Series odds, yes.
Okay, all right.
So we're going to go one by one. And Joe, after kind of looking at this, it's really, there's some interesting lines in here. And I hope that doesn't give it away for you to kind of, predict or guess. But let's start with the first one out in the West. Number 5, Utah Jazz. Go in to number 4, Dallas. What do you think the odds are on that series?
Well, I did notice the other day, Dallas superstar Luka Doncic was hurt. He hurt his calf. I have no idea what his status is and if he's even going to play game 1. Do you have any information on that?
I don't, other than I think it's more of a day-to-day thing, and also just knowing Luka. I mean, there's no way he's going to stay out of this thing. Like we've been talking before, Joe. You know what? You can rest when the season's over, right? I mean, so he's going to, even if he's on one leg, he's going to go out there and he's going to play. I think he's 50-50 for game 1,
Okay.
but what do you think that's doing to the series price? To me, this is a big shocker.
It's going to change it. Without Luka, I don't give Dallas any chance of really winning this series because he is such a good player. So I'm going to say it evens it out a whole lot. I'm going to say it's pretty even, like minus 110 on both sides, just because Doncic might actually play in all these games.
You're not going to believe this, Joe, and this is why I kind of circled this one as a big head scratcher. Even with Luka maybe playing 50-50, maybe not, I agree with you. It's really going to hurt Dallas's chances if he can't play at all in this series. But the line is Jazz are favored 3-1.
Huh.
Minus 310 for the Jazz. You can get the higher seeded Mavericks, maybe with a Luka, maybe without, but at plus 255. And I think the theme here, Joe, when we go through these is, I think it's, in some cases, it's worth taking a shot on some of these underdogs. If you and I can come up with a line or a set of odds that are better than what the books are doing, I think in a lot of these cases, it's a great idea to take a shot on the underdog and maybe hedge if it's not going your way on the series, because these are best of 7 series. It's not a best of 5. It's not a best of 3 like it used to be in the olden days. These are good old 4 out of 7. And if you're going to get that kind of money on a higher seed and the team that's going to play more home games, I'm thinking you take a shot with Dallas here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you on that. Plus 255 seems pretty out of whack from what I was thinking. So I guess I would pick Dallas in 7, thinking it's going to be a long series.
Exactly. And there's a number of proposition bets for the bettor to make on each of these series. There's a number of ways, Joe, you can take a shot at one of these underdogs and then just hedge it out, do some hedge bets. And
Okay.
You either will, if it doesn't go your way with that bet, break even. You hopefully are going to break even with all the series of bets you're going to do, or you can actually put yourself in a position to win both ways. Like the typical, I'm going to take one team on the money line just to win, but the other team I'm going to take with a boatload of points. So lots of times that you can actually win both bets in a scenario like that. For game 1, Joe, on Saturday, the Jazz are favored on the road by 4.5. Dallas as the home dog. Probably the line is telling you Luka is probably not going to play game 1, but what happens if he gets better and plays in the rest of the series?
Yeah.
So
I will take the Mavericks in games that he plays and stay away from the games that he doesn't play.
Exactly, Joe. And by the way, the series was tied 2-2 between Utah and Dallas. That's always an important look that we should do on each series.
In the regular season.
So they split the 4.
Okay. So a long series probably makes sense.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and suggest take Dallas in the initial playoff series plus 255 or better if you can get it. And I would probably take the Jazz money line on game 1.
Okay. So that takes care of Utah-Dallas.
Yes.
Who's next on the playoff series list?
The next one, Joe, and this is an interesting series, and we'll go over why it is in just a second, or maybe you probably already know why. Toronto, the Toronto Raptors, number 5 in the East, are going into number 4 Philadelphia. Do you want to take a shot as to what you think the line was, or the odds are going to be on that one?
I did hear something about Philadelphia has a player that is not going to be able to play. I've never heard of him before. I'm going to try to pronounce his name. Thibault Matisse, who I would say sounds pretty darn French, but I looked him up and he's from Australia, believe it or not.
Interesting.
Shocking. And supposedly he's their best defensive player. He cannot play when they play in Toronto because he has not been vaccinated, is what I've been reading.
And let me guess, Joe, well, I'll just give you a question. Where did Mr. Matisse come from?
Well, besides Australia?
Yes.
I don't know.
No. I mean, how did he get on the Sixers?
Some kind of trade or something?
Yes.
Pure yes.
It was part of the Harden trade.
Oh, okay.
So don't you find it a little ironic that the Nets had 2 non-vaxxers and they got rid of one of them and sent half the problem in case they had to play Toronto because they knew Kyrie Irving wouldn't be able to play in Toronto if it had been them. They luckily get to play Boston instead. So
they did luck out there.
Yes.
So knowing that this player is only going to play half the games in the series, I would assume Philly would have been a fairly high favorite with Joel Embiid and everything. I would say minus 250 or so on Philly. I mean, Joel Embiid, the MVP of the league, going out in the first round of the playoffs, seems unlikely.
Yeah. Pretty close, Joe, on this one. Philly's minus 180 right now. You can take the Raptors plus 160. But I'm not sure how much of a factor the Matisse kind of staying out is, even though it's been all over the stations and everything, that it is going to be a big factor. The Big Mouse continuously says there's a lot of pressure on Doc Rivers and Philadelphia on this one. If they bow out to Toronto, and this is part of the reason, is because you got a player that's refusing to vax, and it's part of his job to possibly do that and go play every game. I just find that kind of troubling. And
it's unfair pressure on the coach. also on Doc Rivers that he can't force his player to get vaccinated. And ultimately, as in the case of Frank Vogel, he will be, I'm going to guess, probably get fired if they don't win this first round.
Well, that kind of leads me to kind of the take you and I were speculating on. I'm going to call this the losing coach will become the Lakers' next head coach series. So the Lakers have been expressing interest in Toronto's Nick Nurse. Now, he's under contract with Toronto, so that would be tampering if they tried to do a one-on-one type of thing. He's under contract. Toronto doesn't want to lose him. But they may loosen the grips and possibly do one of those rare player for coach trades if they really want to get him. And Toronto, whoever loses the series, it's going to be disappointing for that franchise no matter what. So it's, you're in the middle of the road there, number 5 versus a number 4. You guys, both teams played well enough during the year to get in that middle slot there. The first round ballot, it's going to be hurtful for one of those teams. So I can easily see that happening, Joe.
Okay, well, maybe the Lakers will get a pretty good coach, and if that actually happens.
I'm going to go ahead and say, Joe, Doc and Philly are not going to let this one. They were complaining there was Ben Simmons last year. That's what caused them to lose their series. They all turned their backs on him. They traded him to a rival, the Nets, and they got the big scoring Harden. And Harden has never proven he's a big time playoff person. He's just a nightclub guy. So let's see if but there's a lot riding on this, Joe. So I'm going to say Philadelphia and Embiid, who has not won the MVP yet but won the scoring title, is going to prevail in this one, even if it takes 7 games. I think the home court advantage, their roster is a little stronger than Toronto's. I would take Philly, give the 180, and they're 4.5 in the first game. If Toronto is going to do anything, it's going to be in that first game. So I'm going to say take Toronto for a possibility of stealing the game, getting the road win in game 1.
Yeah, I think if you took Toronto money line in the first 2 games, you'd probably come out ahead because you're probably going to get 1 out of the 2. And I would say Philly would return that favor even without their unvaccinated player. And I would say Philly in 7 again. It seems like a pretty long series.
Yeah, Joe, I do too. A lot of these series are really interesting matchups. Hollywood couldn't have scripted this a lot better. But as far as I can tell, Toronto won the series with Philly 2-1. I think I'm missing a game in there.
The regular season. Well,
yeah.
Well, sometimes they do only play 3 times.
Not when you're in the same conference. Usually it's 4 times. So I'm a little.
Other conferences 2. In conference, division is 4, and sometimes it's 4 or 3.
Right.
When it's a team from the other division. So.
Well, my research says Toronto won the series 2 out of 3, but we might be missing a game there.
Okay. All right.
So the next one and a final one that I have for Saturday so far until the rest of the schedule plays out is the number 6 Denver Nuggets and their own MVP candidate, Nikola Jokic, the Joker, goes into Golden State, and number 3 Golden State. Do you want to take a shot at what the series odds are on that one?
Well, last I checked, Stephen Curry for Golden State hasn't been playing for a while.
He has not.
And I haven't heard anything about him for sure playing in game 1.
You have not. And
what is the story on that? You're saying they still haven't said he's going to play yet?
No.
They have no idea.
No, it's still iffy. And the reports out of the Bay Area, Joe, are even if he does play, how effective is he going to be? He's been out like a month and a half now. I mean,
if Curry was playing, I'd have the Warriors like a minus 400.
Okay.
I would totally expect them to be the favorite. I'm still going to have them the favorite. So let's say minus 300 now.
Okay.
With Curry not playing probably the first couple games from what you're telling me.
What if I were to throw in a little bit more information to you, Joe? Would you change that number that, what your prediction is? If I told you that Denver took 3 out of 4 from Golden State, with Denver missing most of their star players and Golden State being at full strength this year.
Yeah, well, Denver went to the conference championship last year, so they do have some experience there. So knowing they took 3 out of 4, I don't know who was on the court for Golden State. They've had numerous injuries over the course of the season. Klay Thompson was out, Draymond Green, it goes on and on. So I guess that would lower it. Minus 200 then, Golden State?
You're right there, Joe. You're right there now. Yeah, Golden State minus 230 at this point in time if you want them. To me, that's a little surprising because you do have the MVP or the MVP candidate. I think it's going to be between him and Joel Embiid.
Without a doubt.
And they are just playing incredible without Jamal Murray and others. So I'm going to say this might be a case where, I think Golden State is ultimately going to win this thing because they just have too much firepower. But it's almost worth a shot at 2-1 to in the early part of the round to almost just take a shot on Denver.
I got a feeling I might be round robining these pluses by the time I'm done talking to you, the ones I like.
I'm going to convince you, huh?
Assuming I can do that, which I'm sure I can.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm going to stay consistent and say Golden State in 7 games, just from what we're saying here, with this Curry injured.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go on the Denver side. It's going to be one of those prove it to me, Joker bets. 2-1 if you take Denver. But I'm going to take Golden State for the series, but they're giving 5 on their first game in Saturday. This is another one of those cases like you just talked about with Toronto where probably more than likely going to split one of the 2 home road games. I'm going to take Denver with the 5 points in game 1.
And if they lose big time, or, you might want to take Denver the next game too.
Yeah.
And one of them is going to be close.
But what we're kind of demonstrating here, Joe, is the fact that you can pick a side and then hedge game by game if you wanted to do it. And I've done it for years. It's really a kind of a neat system to do. Most of the time, I won't bet the individual games if I have a series price on because I want to see if it's taking hold, like my prediction was right to begin with, right? But if you're getting a lot of money on one side or the other, especially as the dog, you may want to think about the individual game hedges, especially if you're getting points, like in the case of Toronto or the case of Denver. So it's kind of a neat way where one of those things where you can actually win both sides again.
Right.
Next one, Joe, which is the first one on Sunday, number 6, the Chicago Bulls against the number 3 Milwaukee Bucks. And may I add that the Milwaukee Bucks are the reigning champions. So
in case people forgot.
In case, other than you and I, if anyone else forgot out there, yes, the Milwaukee Bucks won the championship last year. So, and I'll just go ahead and let you know. I'm going to just not save the kicker for you right now. You and I talked about the Bulls being one of the top teams in the East all year, but 2 weeks ago they had 3 home games and against their top 3 foes. Okay, and they were all jockeying for position 2 weeks ago. Do you remember that even though they were at home for basically 3 home games in a row, we took the other side, the visiting team, 2 out of those three times. Well, they lost all 3. so I actually, that was my only loss in the last 3 weeks, which made me 11-1 and not 12-0.
Uh-huh.
So the Bulls really fell from grace during the season. If I were to tell you that Milwaukee swept them 4-0, what do you think the odds are on this series?
Well, looking at these other numbers that we did, you said 310, 230, 180. Milwaukee, defending champion, like you say, Chicago, getting swept, not playing so well lately. Certainly momentum is big. I'd say Milwaukee'd have to be like a minus 500 or so.
Yeah, up.
Okay, minus 600.
Yeah, double that now.
Minus 1,000.
Yeah, 1,200. It's 12 to 1. If you listeners out there, if you want Milwaukee, which I'm sure a lot of people would, you're going to be laying 12 to 1.
Yeah, that's betting $12 to win $1.
Right. Now, if you want the Chicago side, you're happy about the DeMar DeRozan. You think he's going to be the MVP this year? He's probably number 4 or 5 in the odds right now. But DeMar DeRozan had an incredible year. He was supposed to go to the Lakers. That whole incredible thing that happened there.
LeBron didn't want him. He wanted Westbrook.
Yeah, whether you can believe that or not.
I don't know.
He's on the Bulls, and he also got Alex Caruso from the Lakers. They really did an incredible year for the Chicago Bulls. But if you're going to take them at plus 750, just be aware they really didn't close out the season very well. They never beat any of the top teams. I look for them to go out really quickly. In fact, out of all the series, Joe, I would say this is one of the more sure things that the Bulls may even get swept out of this thing.
Yeah.
It's just not worth laying 12 to 1 on the Milwaukee side.
That would be something you parlayed to maybe Philly, parlay the minuses, round robin the pluses.
Yeah.
Would be my strategy. I'll give Chicago one game. They did play well enough during the regular season. Let's say they're down 3-0 and they're at home. I'll give them one game.
Okay.
And I'll say Milwaukee in 5.
Okay, I like that. I'll say Milwaukee in 5 also, but I'm definitely taking Milwaukee. I'm just not going to lay 12 to 1 to win that one little dollar. However, in game 1 in Milwaukee, they're laying 10. So Milwaukee's a 10-point home favorite on that one.
I'd be interested to see how much Chicago lost those 2 games in Milwaukee by. I know it's just regular season, but I've used that in the past and looked at how regular season goes, and it seems to help.
Not sure they covered any of those games, if that helps you.
I don't know.
It wasn't even close in that last game.
Okay.
So.
All right. But that would be important to note. And same with the overs and unders. I would like to take a look to see how much they actually scored in each opponent's home building.
Yeah.
Because it could be completely different in Chicago than it was in Milwaukee.
Yeah. So Joe, I'm going to go ahead and just not have any action on that one.
Sure.
I mean, I would take Milwaukee, so I think they're going to win this series, maybe 4 or 5. But the thing is I'm not going to lay the 12 on that, so no action on that one. Which brings us to what I think is the most intriguing matchup, the most intriguing series, of all the playoffs, and that was due to Brooklyn winning last night and beating the Cleveland Cavaliers pretty convincingly. Kyrie Irving, who is now allowed to play at home games, had an incredible home game last night. And KD was his usual wonderful self and was found mouthing off about some other team and player today. I just can't keep track of all their drama all the time, Joe, so I just basically have given up. However, they go in to number 2 Boston. And you and I have been talking about how they've lost their big center, Williams, at least for this series. I think he's going to try and do the same thing as Luka and other players, like, hey, if this goes on longer and longer, I'm getting back in there. That sort of thing. Pretty serious knee injury, but I think he will be cleared to play. So what do you think the odds are on that? And then we're going to play a little bonus game of take or fake.
Well, I'm going to say Brooklyn's going to get way too much respect. You got Ben Simmons. He's still not going to play. And even if he did, he hasn't played all season. It's probably been a year and a half since he's played a game. So I like Boston. I don't know what the odds makers are thinking about this, but knowing Brooklyn and the respect they get which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to have Brooklyn favored, and I'm going to say like minus 150.
That's so funny, Joe, because I was thinking exactly the same thing. Now, obviously, the odds didn't come out until this morning because you had to finish the game off yesterday. You had to even know it was Brooklyn that was going to be matching up with them. And to your point, you have to kind of know which players might be playing in the series and that sort of thing. But yes, Brooklyn has been getting so much love this whole year. I mean, they and the Lakers were number one or tied for first, 1 and 2 or tied for first for, winning the finals odds from the beginning of the season. So both teams completely fell, obviously way down, and Lakers out, but no, the love has always been there for Brooklyn, thinking that they're going to get it together once they have a full roster, once Kyrie can start playing, once Ben Simmons can start playing. And so I thought the same thing you did. I thought actually Brooklyn would be favored. They are actually the dogs in this series, which is strange to me. But you're minus 150? Perfect, Joe.
Oh,
ask the Joe. It's on the Boston side, though. Boston is favored by 150.
Well, I'm certainly surprised. I'm glad, and I hope the books are right. I'm kind of not glad because I'm leaning towards Boston. If I'm going to take them, that's going to be my parlay there. I'm going to be like Boston, Philadelphia, Milwaukee. So far on my 3-teamer, I'm going to take Boston to win that series. And certainly Brooklyn is formidable enough to win some games. They obviously have 2 huge weapons. So I'm going to give them some games. I'm going to say Boston in 7.
All right. Wow. Good one. So you don't think KD will do it, huh?
I don't know. Drama, something bad's going to happen. They'll start arguing amongst each other or something terrible. And Boston will just win. If it comes down to a game 7, Boston will be home.
Well, let me give you, before you give me your final answer on that, let me give you a special 2-part take or fake, Joe.
Take or fake.
So, take or fake, question number 1 is, I've been hearing a lot of rumors out of the Nets management and camp lately that Ben Simmons will give it a shot. Steve Nash, their head coach, has said as much as, oh yeah, he's going to play. But also, remember, Steve Nash was the one that said, oh, we're never going to trade James Harden. What are you talking about? So there you go. I mean, how much can we believe this guy? But he said once he does get into uniform and starts playing, he's going to probably play 17, 18 minutes a game. So your 2-part take or fake, Joe, is take or fake number 1. Ben Simmons will actually see playoff action at all. And take or fake number 2 is he's actually going to make a difference. Like, he's actually going to be well enough, and the several months or the whole year of being off and all the drama that's circling this guy in the trade, and he hasn't really played, he's actually going to make a positive difference for the Nets in their championship run.
Well, you could have gone on to about 3, 4, 5 of those, and I'd go fake, 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 fake. I don't think he's going to play effectively if he gets out there. I don't think he's going to see the floor. This is all a sham. It's some kind of illusion that he's trying to portray, that he's so close. Oh, his back is hurting. He has no desire whatsoever to play. And so, fake.
On both of them.
On both of them.
And 15 others if I would have given you 15.
If you would have given me more
gotcha.
Scenarios.
And isn't the word sham in the word shame? So,
yeah, I don't believe anything I hear from Ben Simmons and like you said, Steve Nash.
Take or fake.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take Boston with the minus 150, but I have the right to hedge with Brooklyn getting points. I'm guessing they're getting, I actually didn't check this one, Joe, but I'm guessing they're getting 3 points in game 1. I'm going to just go ahead and just say, let's kind of see how the series goes before I decide to do anything. But I'm going to take Boston and give the 150 on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Me being a Laker fan, I don't like rooting for Boston, but
It's really hard to do.
yeah, but I hate Brooklyn even more
Well,
now,
right.
this year especially.
Exactly. And then the last one I have for you, Joe, and then obviously the rest of the series are going to be lined up after the 2 games tonight. The play-in games are decided tonight. The last one I have for you is your Minnesota Timberwolves, number 7, are going into Big Rich's number 2 Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, yeah, okay, so they played incredible last night and eliminated still LA's second best team. Ha 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 ha. But I mean, I don't think you and I need to do much analysis on this one, other than maybe Memphis. Ja Morant is still not 100%, but they proved with a 20-3 record without Ja Morant that the rest of this team is amazing, and that they can cover with or without Ja Morant. So, my thing is I think this is going to be a bloodbath. I don't think Minnesota. It doesn't even matter about Karl Anthony Towns. Actually didn't show up in last night's game. He's been called, I think, by Shaq soft. I mean, okay. I'm not quite sure I would say it to his face, but he didn't really. He was a no-show last night. It was Patrick Beverley and D'Angelo Russell, ex-Laker, that probably another bad trade or whatever there that just went off last night and put away the Clippers. What do you think the odds are on that, and who would you take?
Well, I'm not going to go against Memphis. I will say it was fun to watch Minnesota play, celebrate anyway last night.
Yeah.
It was exciting, and that was their best moment of the year, and that'll be it for them.
I think so.
I'm glad they enjoyed that.
Well, before you make a prediction on that, Joe, one last thing that's kind of surprising about this series is Minnesota did take 3 out of 4 from Memphis this year. So they do play them tough.
Okay.
So I don't know if that changes your answer or your odds thinking on that.
I'm going to guess Memphis is pretty big favorite. I'm going to go. I saw Milwaukee at minus 1,200. Now it's making me wonder. But I'm going to say Memphis minus 600.
Let me give you a little hint. No, that one is an anomaly for all the series. So why don't you go back to your normal thinking?
Go back to my normal thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say Memphis minus 400.
Perfect.
Really?
It is. It's minus 380.
380. Okay.
So you did great on that one. Don't let the swaying of the big numbers from the Milwaukee Chicago series throw you on that. But yeah, I'm going to take Memphis on that one, because if I don't, Big Rich will probably strangle me and laugh at me every time that they win a game and sweep. So,
well, Minnesota haven't taken 3 out of 4. That's gives me some thoughts that maybe they'll play better in the series that I think. I was going to pick Memphis in 5. Having heard that, maybe Memphis in 6. I'll stick with Memphis in 5.
Okay.
And they'll get it done, and that'll be my 4th leg on my minus parlay.
Wonderful. You need to let the listeners and I know if you can even do that, because if you can, I'm going to go run over there now and go do that.
I've done it in the past.
Okay, good. That's great for everyone to know. Listeners, that's a great way. Joe is really showing you a great way to get action in all these series and a possibility of really parlaying that money for a good. If you're right on 3 out of 4 of those.
Well, I'm going to parlay all of them. They all have to hit. So if any one of those teams, like Golden State, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, or Memphis, doesn't win the series, I'm going to lose my bet.
When I said parlaying, I meant the actual term parlaying, meaning you're just accumulating the odds and the money, not so much that you're parlaying the bets. So,
okay.
Yeah. No, we know you're doing a round robin. Yeah. You don't need, and for the listeners who don't understand what that is, you can do it in a series of 2, 3, or in Joe's case, you can even do the 4, which is considered basically a parlay. But
round robin pluses, parlay the minuses.
Yes. So that way, if you don't hit all 4 of them, you still will, if you get 2 or 3, you should be getting a return on the ticket. The only way you're not going to get any money back is 0 or 1 correct.
Okay. There you go. So we covered all the series that are set so far.
We did, Joe.
Pressure's on now, Mark, though. Who will beat who in the NBA Finals?
I was afraid you were going to ask me that.
Well, if I can't ask now, it'll be too late because then we'll have too much information because they'll start playing games.
Joe, you didn't listen to me earlier. I said that I wanted to just finish off at 11-1, right off into the sunset, and let's just not do anymore. But you're not going to let me do that. So,
no.
Okay. Since you're going to force me to do this, I'm going to say the Phoenix Suns come out of the West. And I'm going to say out of the East, and I hope I'm not wrong about this, but I guess maybe I fear Brooklyn a little bit more. I know, but I'm going to say I don't think it's going to be Milwaukee only because it's so hard to repeat. I mean, in any sport. We see this year after year, unless you're Tom Brady. But I'm going to say coming out of the East.
Should I go first?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Because I already have my pick written down. It's been so wacky this season.
Yes.
And it's looked so wide open that nobody really knows what's going to happen. A whole bunch of teams have a chance.
Right.
So the NBA, such as it is, I'm going to go the exact opposite of that. It'll make
non-wacky?
It'll make absolutely no sense. The two best teams will actually make it to the finals, and Phoenix defeats Miami.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Finals.
That's so funny, Joe. I was just about to say Miami, and I hesitated, and that's when you said you want me to go first. I was going to say Miami, and I have no proof of that, of course, with the world right now. But the only reason why I stopped there is I think Miami has a lot to prove also. They better win this series, whoever they're going to end up playing. I think they will. But the thing is Butler really needs to, and Hero and the rest of them, they came up, a couple of games short against the Lakers in the bubble. I was really impressed with that team. Pat Riley is the general manager and the owner of the team. So he is still doing wonderful things with player personnel there. I just think there's something still missing there for them to get. But I don't really want to just anoint Milwaukee again. All right, I'll go. You know what? You convinced me, Joe. I'm going to go Miami, and I'm going to go stick with Miami and Phoenix. I think there's a number of things that can go wrong for either of their paths to get to the finals. And I say CP3 gets that much awaited ring that he's been looking for after all these years. He and Booker are just amazing together.
Yeah, if we can get Chris Paul through the entire playoffs without getting hurt, that would be amazing. So, Mark, that was an incredible NBA playoff preview, and that was excellent work, and thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how our picks come out on this one. So thank you.
Sponsored by MXE Media. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for, the stories that make us furious about bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end something went horribly wrong and they ended up being losers. It's the segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So Gator, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Yeah, sure, Joe. This weekend, the Los Angeles Dodgers were in Coors Field for a 3-game series with the Colorado Rockies. Now, if you watched any preseason show, they all said that the Dodgers were going to make the playoffs and possibly win the World Series, while the Rockies were going to fight Arizona Diamondbacks for the last place in the NL West Division. Well, Friday, LA did what they were supposed to do, predicted to do. They were at a -200 and they won 5-3. But on Saturday, the Dodgers were favored at a -140 and lost 3-2. And Sunday, they were even a higher favorite at a -180, and they lost again 9-4. So if you had the Dodgers this weekend, I would say that you got hosed.
So Big Rich, do you have a You Got Hosed story this week?
Well, Joe, unfortunately, I do. Our good friend, poker player, longtime poker player, avid listener to the show, covering the field, Butch the Butcher, today put a no-hitter bet on, and Clayton Kershaw had a perfect game going into the 7th inning, and they pulled him in the 8th. And he and his 20-1 odds that there would be a no-hitter thrown today got hosed.
That's quite unfortunate. Had Kershaw had a chance to finish that game, that would have been a nice shot for Butch, a 20-1. That would have been awesome.
Well, Davey Roberts isn't really caring about Butch, obviously. So, Joe, you got host session?
I can't say I got hosed this week. What I did was I hosed myself. I mentioned on the show last week that Scotty Scheffler was the hottest golfer on tour going into the Masters, but then I didn't put any money on him. Naturally, he won. The one worse thing than putting money on something and losing is not putting money on something you like and watching it win. I hosed myself.
And we call that a self-induced hosed.
You got hosed.
So that's all for this week's show. I'd like to thank my associates, Big Richard Martin, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon, Marc the Shark Sabella, and Gator Gates, our producer, our engineer, our editor, our junior IT tech, and Carson High left fielder, Caden Martin, and everyone for listening. We'd like you to visit our Covering the Field website to check out our many articles and our picks of the day and week. We'd like to remind you listeners to email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Give us your feedback, your You Got Hosed moments, and any other comments you'd like to give us, and find us on Twitter at Covering Field. Thank you for tuning into the show, and we look forward to bringing you another episode of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field, a CM World Services and the Sage production.